Hello, Midge.
Hi, Emerson.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. You know how it goes. Tell me your story and what got you here, like a seeking story.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna turn up the volume here a little bit because all right. So very typical, I think, of a lot of other people. Um, but yeah, probably started with Eckhart Tolle,
Just like
and
everybody else.
like everybody else,
Yeah.
mainstream, very mainstream here.
Yeah.
And let's see. Oh, just don't. Well, Alan Watts too, early on.
Yeah.
I I think I
I
kind of
still love Alan Watts.
love him. I just
Yeah.
love him.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen his early ones from like the 50s and 60s when he had that British television show?
I
He had like
did. Yeah.
so I used to watch those science shows that he did.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Eckhart, and then I've read that Michael Singer. I did the Course in Miracles twice. I read Angelo's book because I was like when I found Angelo. So I didn't know it was that I didn't know it was non-duality because none of those people had used that term. And
Yeah.
so I didn't know what I was seeking really. I just knew that I needed something, right? So I think one day I was just like, and then I was like kind of into manifesting and that kind of stuff. And then I was just like, it's gotta be easier than this. Like, what?
Yeah.
I have to like picture everything I want, and then I have to feel it, and then I have to do it, and all this stuff. And it's like that seems too
I did that too, so don't worry. Yeah.
so and then all of a sudden I got Angelo's video
Yeah.
in my feed or whatever. So I watched a couple of times, what is this? And then he said he has a book. And I'm like, all right, I'm reading that book. Cause
Yeah.
like I think he mentioned a few people woke up from reading the book. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, cool, I'll do it. I like read it really fast. And just that was only a year and a half ago that I read his
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
So I suppose in the last year and a half is when I've discovered non-duality and have been
I heard it's a good book, so
it is good. It
yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so ever since then is when I've been sort of like, and then algorithm saw your videos and I was like a little scared at first. And I went to one of your Zooms too, which was
Oh,
great.
yeah.
And I was just like, oh man, this guy has so much patience because there's people on there who are just like, just like just ca- talking. It's like sort of like, you know, not arguing. It wasn't like combative or anything, but I just thought, wow, I didn't know what I was going to get out of it. But yes, then you started posting your one-on-ones, and so I've been watching those. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just book a one-on-one because I like, you know, your style.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny, right? With those, when people usually come from a belief system, it challenges them, right? And I'm offering none, really. Right. So it's quite I had a meeting yesterday and it's beautiful. And I get what the guy is saying because it really challenged, what I'm saying, this person's perspective. And he was asking me, like, can I ask you a question? And I basically say, I have no idea. I'm just being honest. I have no ideas. And because any ideas that I have is just made up, right? So to create a position, it would be easy to agree with someone because, well, is that the I am or whatever, and but it just leads into another position. So, this question, what do you believe at this very moment?
And I was trying to prepare for this question.
Mhm.
Um, um, I mean, that's such a broad, like, because
Just at this moment. You don't even have to think of the past or the future. Just at this very moment.
I guess at this moment, I believe that you can help me.
Okay.
And
That's in the past,
okay,
based on the past.
okay.
Yeah. So what if you don't have that past? Like just like, just like very, very directly at this moment, what comes up, right? Without going through the navigation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to say. I don't know too. In every moment, I don't know. In every present moment, in every directness, there's really no knowing because you rely on the past or the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know, and I don't know, we both meet in silence.
Mm-hmm.
I let that settle in for a bit, right? Because we're so caught up in what we think we know based on our past ideas. But the past is not here right now. There's no one-on-one videos happening concurrently, right? So if you can go to the past or the future, what's up with right now?
What I immediately go to is the feeling, like
Yeah,
feeling my heartbeat.
yeah.
And whether that's my heart beating or not, I guess we don't know.
We don't
Um,
know. Yeah, it's the immediacy, right? It takes you right here, basically, right? Because if we take out the layer of belief, then even if we take out the thoughts, you just answered it. I don't even know if that's my heart beating. So there's almost kind of like an instant, kind of like awake clarity.
mhm,
And before you say, how do I maintain this? What if you can go to the next?
mhm,
We're just so used to the chatter that we don't, we miss out on the silence in between the chatter. It's always here. This is not something new, really, but maybe it's a new kind of like, oh my goodness, it's here.
mhm,
And the
mhm,
body seems to relax a little bit because it's not in a fight or flight response anymore of trying to, prepare for a question or whatever. Because when there's an admission here, that even here, although there's not really here, it's just a thought, there is a clarity without words. Or basically, I don't know. And I'm fine with that. Are you?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my sister or somebody, like someone in my family was saying, like, people are so afraid to say, I don't know, that people just make up answers to
Yeah.
things. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're not talking
Yeah.
non-duality now, just like in
Yeah.
general. Like, if someone asks you a question, you always feel like you have to answer it, even if you don't know the question or the answer. So you just make something
Yeah.
instead of just saying, I don't know.
Yeah. And you know what? For me, this it's the most humbling thing that happened to me. And it's actually the most present I am, right? When I have no knowing.
Because that's the other thing. I always wondered, like, how everybody knows, like, everyone online, like, who's teaching and stuff. And it's like, well, how do you know that? Like,
Yeah.
how do you know there are
Yeah.
25 levels of consciousness or whatever, you know?
I know. Right?
The
And it's
funniest,
just so simple. It's just so simple. It's because we get intoxicated now of knowing, right? So if you read a book or you hear someone speak really eloquently, and it's beautiful, right? Um, because some people are able to express that in a very articulate way,
Mhm,
but and not the fault of the teacher, is the speaker, right? So the seeker now is like, well, this guy knows, or this girl knows. I have to get what they know. But if we all admit, you know what I'm saying, in that place of clarity without language, and before we name it into consciousness or awareness or 25 levels or 10 levels or whatever, and I'm sure it's earnest, but let's start here.
I mean, I think those are the ways those particular people found the here,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's not
But how
wrong.
can you write a book? No, no, it's not. But how can you write a book about this that can't be spoken?
Right.
Yeah. How can you have a teaching? Because this is what happened to me, you know what I'm saying? When I saw that there was no me, and I was like, but I could not speak about it. So it took me a while to be able to articulate this. And I went into poetry and expressing and I know admittedly I love also expressing it, but my base is like it's coming from not knowing.
Right. And so how do you go from this, what we just sort of discovered together,
Mhm.
to knowing that there's no me? Because I
In
don't know.
between me or no me, what's there? Got it? But you can't say it, right? So they've been saying no me as a misnomer, basically, right? Because it's like it's a calculated guess, right? It's clear, but you can't really even say it.
Yeah.
How do you know that there's no self? What's in between self or no self? What's in the gap? It's in between where you and I meet and we both dissolve, basically. This is the gap. This is the space where people fall in love, right? When the
Hmm.
words just doesn't make sense or the first love or whatever, right? This is when the kid discovers the sweet taste
Hmm.
or the bitter taste. Like, oh, right.
And I guess it's similar. I heard you speaking to somebody the other day, to use a word,
Mhm.
like similar to the flow state. Like,
It is like a flow state, isn't it? Right? It's like
because you sort of discovered it when you were teaching, right? And you were in that flow state.
yeah. Well, you know what? I was about to have an anxiety, panic attack. So I've known ever since I was a kid that I just dissolve into music.
Mhm.
Um and and lo and behold, you know what I'm saying? When I went into like the third, fourth, fifth track or whatever, and I was like, there's no one doing this. I can't find Emerson. And although that sounds contradictory now, like who, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to express something that can't be expressed, kind of like what we're doing right now. We're
Mhm.
guessing, basically. We're coming up with words to try to express it, but it can't really be expressed. But there's something almost like, and again, this is more words. Please forgive me. Um, it's so infinite. And then you start hearing, and I always say this, if you don't, that's okay too. The silence that can't be understood. It's almost like a really soft hiss.
I mean, it's kind of like creating your own sensory deprivation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I've never done that, but I can imagine what it might be like because, we've all like been underwater or whatever, where we
Mhm.
had some of our hearing, like, um,
Actually, that's right. You know what? I used to excuse me, when I was a spiritual teacher, I was an ambassador for like this like salt chamber or something, like a floating thing. And it is that because in the beginning, when I was no matter how much I meditated and everything, and because I was a meditation teacher, um, the first time I got into that salt tank and everything, I was kind of like, oh my goodness, what the hell is this, right? And then the chatter is like boom, 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 boom. I'm like, you know what, I can't. And then if you have like, don't go there with the nick or something because the salt is going to be so
oh yeah, it hurts.
stingy. Yeah.
Although it'll heal it.
Don't go there, after you shave, basically. Right? But you know what? I was struggling with it for like a good 20 minutes. And then one time I just put up my hand like this and just, and then I was like, oh my goodness, that silence was so loud, right? I was like, no wonder people do this, right? But it's
Yeah.
hard to get into it in the beginning because you're struggling with it. It's kind of like you have this slimy, thick salt in your body and you're like in an enclosed space with no, with
Right.
no light, just like a tiny light. And, when the light
Yeah.
goes off completely, you're like, it's the same right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to appear, differently for everybody, right? So somebody's been gung-ho about seeking and been so confused. It could be like, oh my goodness. Or for people that are kind of like, you've read the books, you've done, like you're almost kind of like going pro a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah. Yeah.
you've done the Alan Watts, you're not shocked anymore with all of this stuff. Alan Watts has talked about this many, many times.
Yeah. He was he was
I love
awesome.
that he's a rebel.
Yeah, totally. I love that about him.
Did you know that he was a priest before?
I think maybe I'd heard that. Yeah, and he's like just such a scholar and like a scientist and
I love the way that he talks, right? And his humor.
yeah, he's hilarious. Hilarious. Loved
And
him.
you know what? I wish I was there when he was speaking because yeah, and you know what? And it's funny because he pokes fun at everyone
And himself, which is
and
nice.
himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's more eloquent, and articulate. But I like, but I think I go with the humor because I poke fun at myself all the time.
Yeah. And that's why I think I was drawn to your videos too, because they're, not so serious.
No, seriousness makes it look like that something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Or
there's
that
something
or that this is serious.
that this is serious. It's not at all, huh? This is like being a child.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like I get it sitting here with you, and I know this is a
Yeah.
kind of future question, but like, um, and I'm and and in the past, like, I don't know, 5 years or so more, um, I must have read some, and all the things I've read, they always talk about watching your thoughts. So I've gotten good at watching my thoughts because like before that, you just
Hmm.
have them running all the time and you're not really aware.
Yeah.
And then you start to become aware of them, you catch them and you're like, oh wait, that's just a thought. Like even things like that I thought
Yeah.
beliefs,
Hmm.
like I can't even remember something recent, just everyday things that you think is a reality,
Yeah.
but you stop and you're like, wait a minute, that's just a thought.
It is
That's
all a
not,
thought, and that's
that's
the
not
thing,
real.
right?
Yeah.
It's I think the teachers were earnest and trying to guide you there, but a thought guiding a thought just creates a thought of what it should be,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
A thought witnessing a thought is just more thoughts if you look at it.
Yeah.
So what if there's no witness, there's no observer, because the observer is just another thought.
Hmm.
I used to, watch my thoughts and I thought I had like Tourette's or something because I'm like, like trying to swipe it or, I'm like, no, 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 like it's like a struggle, right? But I didn't know that I was trying to get into a state into a next. So if thoughts appear, see the irrelevance of it so that the seeing disappears. And then eventually, you know what? You're not even paying attention anymore.
Not
It's
paying.
always trying to create a past to maintain a reality based on a past.
Hmm.
And then the future thought is to maintain a reality It's just maintaining reality. But reality is just a thought. There's something here that's in between reality and illusion. What's in between that?
Yeah, I mean, is it wrong to say I feel it, physically?
No, no, not at all.
And and again, I'm
Don't
sure,
worry about words, like I'm over my non-duality police, word not seeing, you know what I'm saying?
right?
If you feel it, you
But
feel it, you know what I'm saying? And that's what
yeah,
people usually say, right? It's kind of like that's why I even say don't believe in what I say or anyone says, just when you feel it, you feel it. It's palpable, isn't it?
it is.
Yeah.
It is. And you're right that the next thought is how do I so so to get here.
It's always here, by the way. And you know what? Even you know what, when it doesn't feel like it's here, it's here.
And so
The
just
body is just basically kind of like relaxing right now to it. Kind of like, okay. It's kind of like almost like in a parasympathetic nerve, you know what I'm saying? Not in a fight or flight response. Or
Mhm,
you can say that the left and the right brain basically you're in between it. So you're not logically thinking or in la la land, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like thinking of consciousness and awareness or nothing here. It's almost like sobriety. It's like in the middle.
mhm,
And here there's nothing to argue about, isn't it? There's nothing to debate about.
mhm,
Yeah. It's neither right or wrong. Not really a knowledge, not really a belief, because you feel it in your body.
mhm.
Mhm.
And so always like sort of go back to that, whatever this
If you
feeling.
can, if you can go to the future and the past, then it's always here. And then, if, for example, initially, I'm saying it's gonna like, what, call it whatever, call it a technique or practice. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But eventually, it settles in, right,
Mhm,
into that peaceful quietness, to that
mhm.
sobriety, so that you don't go seeking. The most instant thing is that people usually stop seeking, like reading and stuff like that, because you see words are all made up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely what I want. I do
Mhm.
feel like seeking is a total addiction.
It is. It is.
Because, yeah, it just, I don't know. You see, whatever, you see other people and you're like, well, wait a minute, what do they have? They're doing, what do
Yeah.
they have that I don't have?
Someone actually said, your eyes. I'm like, what about my eyes? He goes, he just focuses. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Don't think of it as anything. You know what I'm saying? Here's someone's like, you have like that enlightened eyes. I'm like, that's just a thought. Who cares? Right? I'm going to start wearing shades or sunglasses soon and because people are trying to make it special, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to show the ordinariness of this, right? That, you know, that my dad, when he's grumpy, I can just say, hey dad,
Yeah.
just as he's just curious. He goes, oh, okay. Then I see he relaxes a bit,
Yeah.
see if I can apply it to my dad and my surroundings, you know what I'm saying? And I don't
Yeah.
even have to talk about it. I just have to ask them questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried this with a friend the other night, a friend that doesn't have no idea. So we were like hanging out, and my friend was just like, it's so quiet, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. Because I feel really good when you're here, Emerson. I'm like, yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah.
He goes, I like this, because I was about to, I called you because I wanted to vent a whole bunch of things. He goes, but it doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is that story in one of Eckhart's books, because I read the two of them. I don't know if he's written
Oh yeah,
more,
yeah.
where this woman who I think he was sharing a building with or something. She was renting an apartment or something, and she always had like problems. She had like a million problems, and she's always ranting. And he, she had him come over, I don't know, and they were talking, and she just was going on and on about her problems, like just couldn't stop. Just she had a million things going wrong, and Eckhart was just like sitting there, like just like not saying anything, just kind of being there. And then all of a sudden she just kind of like, it's like, wait, what's going on? Like, what? Like all of a sudden her stress went away. Just
Yeah.
he was sitting there and he wasn't
That
reacting.
sounds very special though. You know what I'm saying? Makes it look like that he has superpowers, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm
Right.
saying it might be similar to what happened with you and your
Oh
friend.
no,
Like,
I kind of knew he was gonna be ranting, you know what I'm
oh,
saying?
okay.
It's just like it just never stops. And to be honest, I just do want to hear it because it's the same thing over and over again. Like before you go there, man, like what is between, whatever he
Right.
was saying, and it's like, oh, okay. And he goes, you know what? This is the best time that we've had together. Like
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
just
Yeah, you nipped it in the bud. You
I
didn't wait.
did, yeah.
You're like, I don't want to hear this again.
And then at the end of it, he was like, "Is this what you do?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay, all right." And then he goes, "Did I just get a freebie?" Like you're my friend,
No,
you
you
know.
owe me.
I'll send the bill. And then he messaged me. He was just like, "I feel really calm."
That's awesome.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be this because you know what's been happening, right? It's all over social media. People have requirements now. People have, it has to be this way. It has to be this um prerequisites, right? Midge, have you suffered enough? That kind
Right.
of thing, right?
Right. Um,
But this is the natural state of a baby. So you know what I'm saying? So come on, right?
and now like that's a good way to picture it a little bit is like plopping two babies down in front of each other.
Yeah.
They're not going to use words. They're just going to be like,
Yeah.
you know,
Does the baby know I am or consciousness or awareness or nothing being everything or you know no.
no.
But if you put a baby in front of like spiritual non-duality teachers, the baby is the clearest one of all.
Yeah.
If I had a baby here, I'd be like, "Ugh, I can't compete." You know what I'm saying?
That would be a good idea for a video.
I should.
A baby on a stool.
Yeah, I'll be like
Yeah, I
right.
like oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say my also what I really am challenged with is my kids, they're 21 and 23, and they're both living with me now, and well, they always have
Yeah.
been. Um, and they're fine. There's nothing wrong immediately or anything like that. But when they have times of stress or like anxiety and worry, because I do feel like their generation is just always talking about, I have anxiety. Like they
Oh, I
diagnose
know.
all the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
with anxiety. It's like all over social media and it's like a thing. And maybe it's true, I'm sure it is true. I'm sure they feel anxiety. But anyway, just trying to
The
be,
generation right now is too many words.
yeah.
Too
And
many
labels,
words.
labels. They want to label
Labels
everything
and identities and this
because,
and that. Yeah.
yes, because like even my son who probably has something like ADHD maybe,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
slightly like neurodivergent maybe, or something like that. I was so hesitant to like label him because I thought, I don't, that's not that, whether or not his brain is a little different than other people, that label is just gonna like put him in a box, and then he's gonna like sort of become that or whatever. So of course, like we help him as much as we can with, you know, and he graduated from college. He's fine. He's fine. He's really
It's probably
smart.
brilliant. You know what I'm saying? And he just does not know how to express that brilliance. And we have this world that's labeling and everything. Right.
Right.
And for me, what happened was, you know what? I was becoming too complicated. I had so many different ideas about what I am. And then one day the labels just fell off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yet, even when the labels came off, the authenticity shone because I'm not a spiritual teacher anymore. I'm not, a mentor anymore, or not a party animal anymore, or whatever labels that I have of myself, right?
Right.
Because, in this appearance of whatever this is, right, there's going to be a spectrum of the characters.
Right.
One day I'm like OCD, one day I'm ADD, one day I'm kind of like neurotic, when I
Hmm.
was seeking anyway.
Right.
um, and one day I'm like a depressed, one day I'm the life of the party.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm
Because
like going back and forth. And then, so when the undoing happened, I could not speak for quite a while. I'm sure you've heard that story. I've repeated it many, many times. Nothing special about it, by the way. I was just in a place where there were no people. You know what I'm saying? I would have been doing kind of like a retreat for a month anywhere, silent retreat. So the silent retreat really became really, really silent. Like it was completely silent. And yeah, the labels were not there. I didn't even know who I was anymore. I don't even know what I am. Because I'll just come up with words and everything. There's a lot of narrative that happens, right? So when there's peace and no matter what appears, then maybe being neurodivergent or any of that is fully, accepted as is,
yeah.
without the definitions of what it is or
Right.
whatever, right?
Right. I mean, because to a certain extent, I think we all are, you know,
Yeah, we are.
there's a
Yeah,
spectrum. It's like
yeah,
everyone is everything kind of thing. Um,
totally. Yeah, some people think I'm a savant autistic person, when they watch my videos first. They're like, what? And then labels get put on you. You know what I'm saying?
mhm. Yeah.
It's not just one role that we play multiple roles, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I'm different to my nephews. I'm like a little goofy, character that plays with them and everything. And with my dad, I'm a son. It's like with my brothers, I'm a brother. With my
Yeah.
friend, I'm a friend.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
but they're just all thoughts again about who you are. If you look at it, there's no reality to it.
Right.
Some per people might think of you as like God's gift to humanity. Some on the same, in the same room, some people tell you that you're just full of it. You know?
And so with this, like, I mean, I know it's just a word, but is it still, and it's just a label, but it's
It's
like,
okay.
it's still like non-duality? Like, because, because is getting to the point where you're feeling that between me and no me, does
Well,
that,
yeah.
I mean, I know I'm already like reaching into the future, but does that like lead to the feeling of oneness of like it?
The oneness is just another idea, right? So there's a wholenessness about this, right? Like I was getting asked questions yesterday about, I'm like, I see everything as is already. They just have an idea of what is. Does that make any sense? Like when even the idea of oneness falls and everything. Like this morning, I was walking you know, like with this like in awe look in my face. I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's chilly now. I can wear my sweaters and stuff like that. And but there were very little thoughts that's happening, right? Or sometimes no thoughts at all. So you can call that oneness, but I don't want to label it
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, I years ago, like I
I just
think,
feel alive.
yeah.
Yeah, excited.
Hmm.
Even when I'm sad, it's alive.
Yeah.
There's no more filters, which is
Yeah.
not the best all the time, because there's really blunt.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. I know.
Um, so I feel like it's just kind of always embodying everything so that like yeah, so that you're connected to like,
It's like, if you look at it, you're like a thoughtaholic.
mhm,
And this is kind of like you're sober right now, basically. The moment that you take a shot of the past and the future, then you'll keep on doing more shots until you're intoxicated again.
yeah,
But intoxication usually sobers up again in the morning. But the moment that, like a complete, like a character that has addiction, you know, they drink right away in the morning. You know what I'm saying? There's some people,
yeah, right.
yeah,
Oh, and
because
I've
they're
noticed,
avoiding this clarity.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I
Or
noticed,
the opposite of addiction is connection. So when you're connected to something that is neither this or that in between, you know, um, opposites, then there's a connection. Right now, there's a connection.
mhm,
And you can disconnect it again, only by idea
mhm.
that there is a next or there's a past.
Yeah. I mean, like I do notice it like first thing in the morning when I wake up, I notice all of a sudden my thoughts are just like choo, choo, choo. Like,
But
and
if
I
you
felt,
also notice it, there's an automaticness to what's happening in the
yeah,
morning. Like for example, my friend goes, "Oh, I need coffee right away." My body just goes to the coffee maker, makes a coffee, and then I drink coffee, and then I'm like, "Okay, my life is shitty." That kind of thing, you know what I'm saying?
right.
or, or
It's
my
a,
life is great, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I believe, well, and then here's another belief, I guess,
Yes,
because
okay.
you asked me what I believe. Like, I do believe in patterns, like you get into your physical apparatus gets
Mhm.
into patterns and
Oh, it
then
does. It does in
it
the
does it
story anyway.
automatically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Like for example, in the morning, um, because I was not so used to the winter here anymore because I'm from the west. Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Chicago, so
Okay. So
similar
it's
weather.
super cold. Yeah, super cold, right? So
Yeah,
I got used to the habit of putting my jogging or walking clothes before I go to bed, right? So that when I
right.
wake up, because you know what, when you have a dog, a puppy, you know what I'm saying, you have to just basically put on whatever.
Yep.
And so in the morning I just put my clothes on and automatically my puppy licks me and I go downstairs, put a leash, you know what I'm saying? So that automaticness when I'm walking, there's nothing to think about
Right.
because it's just automatically happening, especially when you get a puppy that has to go potty every two
Mhm.
hours, right? So you're kind of like, oh, it's kind of like having a baby, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, and then I've been noticing, I'm like, oh my goodness, these walks are like 2 hours, 3 hours now because there's so much peace with no thoughts for 3 hours. And then I jump into my sessions, my one-on-one, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm living a dream job because here there are no thoughts because we go into the directness, right? So,
Yeah,
and then people ask me, how come you have so much energy? I'm like, well, look at what I do.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do think like and well, I don't know. I know these are thoughts and words, but like when you're doing something in the flow or whatever and you're just
That you
doing,
love.
yeah, that you love,
It's in the flow.
it gives you energy. It doesn't
Yeah.
take away energy. And it's when you're and it's when you're at a job that you don't like or whatever, or just doing something
You're
that,
looking at the time, like,
yeah,
is it lunchtime yet? Is it 5 o'clock yet?
yeah. So I
I
mean,
used to I used to do that with work, you know what I'm saying?
and so I guess part of this too is learning how to um get that feeling when you're in a situation like work where you're not having fun and you're just
Yeah.
um like maybe try to like connect with the between, like that's a thought.
Someone was telling me that this thing, it's just a few months basically took over, right? I have a friend too that hated his job, and then now he makes this resin tables.
He does what?
Resin, those like carpentry tables that's like,
Oh,
and he makes those, for corporations. So he's booked for I think 2 3 years now.
wow.
Yeah. And he's not doing it for the money, but it actually give him more money than his prior job and everything, right? So,
Wow. Yeah.
but he was doing it, it was hard in the beginning because he was doing that in between and everything. But what at least he did was he goes, I love what that, even if I was working 12 14 hours, right? At least he was doing something that he loved, and until that took over. Kind of like the same thing that happened with me. I was,
Yeah.
an office corporate job, and I went back into reality, right? I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not a spiritual teacher anymore. I have to, um, make money and
Pay the bills.
contribute, pay bills, and that kind of stuff, and get back from that, because I was seeking got me completely flat broke and just dysfunctional, basically, right?
Ah, it takes over your life.
It takes over your life, and until I was like, just dry. Like
Hmm.
I could not even open up a bank account because I had identity theft. I just went to the deep end. Like there was a moment I was like, when is this rock bottom gonna end? And then another rock bottom, another rock bottom, another rock bottom. And I saw the signs because when I was forcing enlightenment, when it became my addiction, it's like the ultimate addiction.
Hmm. Yeah.
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 And
I
then when the addiction gets really, really bad, it's almost like you're in a psychosis.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm addicted to it, or I was, I guess. But luckily it hasn't like,
Recovering from it.
yeah, um, but I mean, it's just I think mine was stretched out over such a long period.
Yeah, yeah.
If I want to count
You're a functioning
literally
addict.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Which doesn't get you anywhere.
No, no,
It just
no.
postpones like
It does.
I
It
laughed so
does.
hard when you told this when you told the story about when because I read Byron Katie too, and you were like
Oh
you were
yeah,
like,
yeah.
where are the cockroaches? When you were like clutching or like you were like so desperate, you were like, I want the cockroach.
Yeah, that's when I basically said, well, you know what? If I can get it through meditation and awareness and consciousness and all of the practices, I'm gonna get drunk.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the Byron Katie way, right? Because I did the work and the work did nothing for me. I'm
Yeah.
saying it did not get me enlightened. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do when she really got enlightened. Because if you look at it, I'm being kind of like cheeky now, right? Why doesn't Eckhart teach about, you know, LSD or something? Because that's what
Right.
happened, right? Um,
Right.
who else? Or people talk about that it happened when they're in suffering. So why don't people get people into suffering? Just
Right.
kidding. Yeah,
No, I know. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny.
yeah. Where are the cockroaches?
Because I didn't even understand that story, to be honest. I mean, I read her book or read it or whatever it was.
That's when she apparently got enlightened, right? Because she was
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
halfway house,
Yeah.
and the cockroaches were, basically climbing her legs and everything. And then
Yeah, woke up. And
yeah,
the thing is, I think that I didn't understand it because, again, this can't be explained. And so that was
it
her
can
explanation,
be.
and
Yeah.
it makes sense to her, but like it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, well, I
I
don't.
have, I have this guy that basically said, Emerson, I took on DJing so that hoping that, you know, I'm like, how's your DJ? He goes, I'm really good now. I'm like, good. Because he said he would spend like 2 3 4 hours now DJing. And it's like, okay, anytime now DJing. Right.
Right? Oh my God, that's too funny.
No,
That's
it's and then I heard about this guy that basically I haven't read the book. I don't have I haven't had any time. I'm balancing work and life, right? It's like I
yeah.
love being with my family, I love being with my friends, so that you're not caught up in this idea that you're like this YouTube non-duality speaker kind of thing, right? But I just love life, it's not like I'm trying to express how normal this is too, that you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to kind of like, people just assume that I'm like floating, in levitating the whole day and going with my cockroaches around, and bowing to you, right?
I'm picturing like an animated film with like, you know, that gave me a, a visual.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be a good cartoon.
Yeah, because I've talked to a lot of teachers and speakers, and they don't talk like that when they speak to me. They talk like normal people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They have gripes and they have gossips, all
Yeah.
of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then people put people on a pedestal, thinking that they're
Right.
this like character that is, it basically they're in the spiritual world, they're the rock stars,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't have talents like rock stars. I'd go with the rock star. Yeah, it's just a whole
Oh,
bunch of pedestals, right? So the moment that and it's challenging, right? Because you know what, people expect you to know what you're talking about.
yeah.
People expect you to be on a higher level than them,
Mm-hmm.
but real quietness and freedom takes all the levels out. It becomes equanimity.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be a friend than a teacher, speaker, or whatever, right?
Right.
And it's easier when you're with a friend. And I think one of the first people that clicked out of this was a friend of mine. Basically, we're just like a couple, the first couple ones actually, right? And we were just like sitting down, and he goes, "What's this non-duality shit that you're talking about, Emerson?" I'm like, "Oh, you don't want to know." And then when he honed into it, um, I'm like, "Remember when you were blacked out, um, and you drove everyone home, and you kind of like, what the hell? I don't remember anything." Like this is kind of like that. When you're blacked out, was there someone there? It's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just trying to, I was not even trying to convince him. I was just really trying to be simplistic in what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because at one point when I was a spiritual teacher, I could not even talk to people that were my family or my friends that I've known for 30, 40 years, right? So because
Yeah.
I became this snob, right? I was like, I would walk in there with my spiritual high horse and I'll be like, "Are you vegan?" That kind of thing. Your vibration is too low because you're eating a lot of, bacon, that kind of thing. Meanwhile, I just really wanted to eat bacon, and
You're in denial.
yeah. So yeah, this is the simplicity, the normalcy, the sobriety, like
Mm-hmm.
enjoying life again.
Mm-hmm.
Problems might still arise, right? You know what I'm saying? And you might get still irritated with your two sons, but there's directness now. You're not bypassing it. You're not saying that, well, there's no one here really to get mad, or, you know,
Right.
if
Right.
I'm just more aware of my son or for my conscious, or trying to convince yourself that I am that, I am that, I am that, I am, it's just back into the ordinariness of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. It's
Okay.
beautiful. Even when it's snowing hardcore here, it's beautiful. Well, it's not yet, but,
Yeah.
yeah. Hanging out with your friends that you've known for a long time. It's beautiful. Getting irritated with a friend that you've known for a long time is also beautiful.
Yeah.
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 And then we try to think that, that we're something special now. We're in the non-duality club.
Right. Yeah, it's hard not to take ownership of like your spirituality, you know?
Yeah,
Like defending it to people because like I don't talk about it to most of my friends really at all. But
I don't, but they've
it,
been asking me lately, right? Before, because they see that I'm happier somehow, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it
They see
comes
that I'm
up.
more, because before I was so full of drama, right? I was just
Yeah.
like one time I was just like, we were sitting and then you haven't seen me in a while. Like I was in the West Coast and I would come and then I'll be like, I have to go. They're like, why, Emerson? We haven't seen you in a while. I'm like, you guys are eating meat. That kind of thing. Or like they're talking about like our childhood things, like back in the day, and then they would be gossiping about someone, and I'll be like, I can't be in a room when someone's gossiping about someone. I have to go,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Or faking that you're like enlightened and you're like, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that's just more character building. That's
It
like becoming
is.
another character.
It is, yeah. It's just becoming another one, right? They're like,
Yeah.
so when they came back and there's more peace and quietness here, they're like, oh, this is the Emerson that we loved, like it's,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Back to like childhood when you don't have as
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because before I remember like most of my, like not struggles, but my fights with my brothers and sister was about me being spiritual,
Yeah.
me being righteous, me being always correct.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have felt that. I mean, I haven't gotten into too many disagreements with my friends about it because a long time ago, I'll check the time. Um, I mentioned something about like law of attraction
Oh no.
to my group of friends,
Yeah.
and they basically shut me down right away. They're like, "Do not talk to
Yeah.
us about that." And so I was
Yeah.
like, "All right, no
But
point
you're
taken."
operating from scarcity, just to let you know.
What's that? What'd you say?
I would usually say, but you're operating from scarcity, just to let you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
If you
yeah.
don't want to hear about it, just to let you
Yeah,
know. I'll shut up. You know what I'm
it's
saying?
fine.
But
It's
but
okay.
you
All right.
are
You want to know
basically
the secrets of the
but
universe?
you're rejecting abundance right now. But I'll shut up. You know what I'm saying?
And meanwhile, they're way more, they were way more abundant than I was in terms of like financial wealth and stuff like that. And here, but I didn't I yeah, I decided I don't want to talk because even though I like quote unquote believed in it,
Mhm.
it's not like I knew anything. I just believed it. So like I didn't feel comfortable even defending anything because I knew that they could probably argue against it
Yeah, yeah,
easily.
yeah. And again, for the character that believes in the law of attraction, um, their belief is strong, but also the people that don't believe in that, they're also, so you're clashing with beliefs.
Right.
You're clashing
And
with beliefs. Yeah,
have you ever heard of the book Reality Transurfing?
I have actually.
So there's a line in that book that I always like. It's called um
I haven't
there's
read it. I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's cool. It's written pretty interestingly. There's evidence to support all theories. In other words, you can always prove your point,
Hmm.
no matter what it is. People
Oh
from
yeah.
like because it's just your belief, so you're gonna be able to prove it. And
Yeah.
so like there's no point in proving your belief
No, no, no,
because
no.
whoever you're talking to can prove their belief.
Oh, exactly. Like I had this kind of like, beautiful, beautiful like meeting yesterday. And then somebody basically kind of like, was didn't like that I kept on saying, I don't know. I have no idea. And he goes, well, you believe that. I'm like, I really mean it. I'm like, I really don't know. It's not a
Mhm.
belief, right? I don't know how to say in between belief and non-belief, right? There's this isness and everything. I don't know.
Mhm.
And I just also know that that's a belief, believing a belief. But so yes, I'm like, I don't argue anymore with people because that's your belief. You know, what I'm saying sounds like a belief. So What's the point of that, right?
Right.
And it got heated because, the person wanted to, was, I think it was the person was like, trying to prove something,
Mm-hmm.
saying, and I respect that. I respect that because it's challenging that belief system and the structures of, like a lot of the stuff that this character has learned over the years. So when it's seen that it's so simple, and the investment on something that perhaps is dear to the character or belief system, right?
Yeah.
So I don't fault it. I shook the character's hand at the end. I'm like, okay, so
Right.
I'm
Right.
sorry that I didn't even say anything. Just,
Yeah.
peace, peace, peace. So I'm at peace with it, right?
Yeah. That's good. That's
It's
great.
kind of like when you see those meetings right there, like someone goes off, into a tangent about something,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to express to them, but they're not hearing it, right?
No.
No, no. And they don't even want to get to what you're trying to express because they're so
Right.
challenged by it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm going to stop the recording here.
Okay.